This is a stock Dio or Honda Elite 50cc engine case. Now I'm kind of being held hostage by the weather for my painting. So in between my painting of my gyro panels, I've decided I'm going to show you how to take a Honda 50 motor like this and build it to 120 cc's. I have hundreds of pictures that you'll see in the future videos, and we'll go through this step by step if you want to see if you want to build one of these. Now personally, I've only built one. One is all I want to build. It takes 120 cc's is a 54 millimeter cylinder around here and a 52.5 millimeter diameter crank, which gives you centimeters squared, roughly 119.79 cc's in the cylinder. With that's how much power you can get. But there's so much modification that has to be done, and it has to be done right. If you are weak in one area, the whole thing just won't work. Now to do this, it would be good to have a machine shop handy that could do the boring on the 54 millimeter cylinder. We'll need boring here and here. I'm gonna kill that fucking dog. I hate dogs, especially yapping ones like that get involved in my videos. Okay, this is kind of heavy, so. Now, the first thing that we have to do, and I'm going to explain this to you, then I will show you the pictures. I have 2 or 3 of these engines. I managed to buy them on eBay a few years ago when eBay used to be a good site for auctions. Now eBay is just good for buying parts. You really can't get a good deal like you used to. But the first thing we have to do is bore out the inside here, like my others, so that we can receive the wider diameter 52.5 millimeter crankshaft. Now, that's just one of the first problems. And you'll notice this is all set up for a 50 millimeter. A 50 millimeter wide crank. A 52 would be a little bit wider. But you can see on this one for 50 millimeters how close I come to these holes. You don't want to go through these holes. You can, but you really don't want to, because remember, the engine is an air pump. It's very simple. All of this has to be pressurized and no leaks. So the less places that you have for leaks, the better. And if you do have a vacuum leak, well, like I said, that's one weak area where you just screwed the motor. So the first thing that we have to do is bore the diameter out by about 2 millimeters. And you can see, if you look very closely right down there on the edge, you can see on the very bottom where I've taken off about 1.5 millimeters on the diameter. Now, to fit any of these cranks in here, as far as 50 millimeter or 52.5, those are the only 2 cranks that I've seen. You'll need to have 1 millimeter of clearance. That's all you need, all the way around, so it doesn't hit anything. 1 millimeter, and that would be 0.5 millimeter on each side, so it's not very much. But we'll take these out here, and this area right here was where I spun a bearing. And instead of taking it to a machine shop and them telling them charge me $500 to put in a new bearing race or something, I put in a little JB Weld, and it worked perfect for these little teeny bearings. Then you'll need a oil plug, which goes right here. Take your stock oil pump out from right here, and I put it in and I JB Weld the top of it. If I want to take it off, I just take my grinder and I grind off the JB Weld. It turns to dust and I just pull the thing out. Works really good. The second thing we have to do is to increase the rear boost port. This is the rear, this is the front. The rear boost port, and for a 54 millimeter cylinder, this diameter right here and here and here and here have to be widened out because the larger cylinder will not fit in the stock case. Remember that we're putting the biggest engine you can put in there. Someone says you can put 125 cc's in one of these cases. I don't see how it can be done. 120 cc's is just right at the nuts. I mean, it's just right there. The next thing that we have to do, which is very hard, is that the crank on a regular 50 millimeter crank, the counterweights are so wide. On a 52, they are wider. What that means is that this bottom floor plate right here has got to be reduced by about millimeter and a half on each side, and correspondingly the bearings that go in here are not Honda bearings. They are specially thinner bearings, which are about 1.5 to 2 millimeters thinner. So inside of doing all this work, you've got to do all this other machine work, and you've got to be really good at it. I want to do it because I want to see if I could do it, and it is the motor that's on my bike right now that you've seen ride all last summer, and it works pretty good. But I would not do it again because it's extremely complicated. And this little motor, you could make them fast enough with a 50 millimeter crank instead of a 52.5. Now, all of my parts that you're going to see in these pictures are purchased at vtcycles.com. Now, what you do is you go to their website. It's a little shop in Hawaii. They have their email, they have their phone number. They have a lot of stuff in the shop that is not on the website. What you need to do is get on the phone, check Hawaiian time, call up Steve or Keone. Steve is the owner, Steve Vantrease, and ask him, say, look, I want to build this engine. What kind of parts do you have available? And if he does have the parts, then give the guy a credit card number, and in a few days later you'll have them. I'd like to say that all of my parts were purchased at VT Cycles. I've never been to Hawaii. I know they have a lot of shops and a lot of everything, but VT is the only one I know, and I'll tell you what, they're solid gold business people, stand-up guys. They say what they do and do what they say. So if you need parts, give them a call, tell them I sent you, and let's get building some engines here. Alright, my next video will be on detailed pictures, and you'll see some very, very amazing pictures. I was going to put this up for rental, but hell with it. I'm going to do it all for free. It took me years to get all these pictures together, and I think you'll be amazed. So this is the first step into making a 120cc Dio monster engine from the stock 94 to 2001 Honda Dio cases. Okay.